Leonhardt, actual name Wright, is a 5-star splash caster, and is apparently forbidden to have any rocks brought to him for naming and identification. He is available from both headhunting and recruitment, with the senior operator, ranged, AoE, nuker, and caster tags. Leon has 2 years of combat experience, most likely coming from his time as a catastrophe messenger working in Rim Billiton. He stands at 165 centimeters tall, was born on the 13th of August in Rim Billiton, and is of the Countess race, specifically the Lionhead Rabbit. In his archive files and promotion record, it's noted that Leon previously served as a consultant messenger to various mining teams in the Eureka Autonomous Prefecture in Rim Billiton. Messengers who work with mining teams have a more dangerous job than your typical messenger, that being having to go into excavation sites after a catastrophe to study the mineral deposits. With this, Leon has learned qualities that are beneficial to being an operator, such as combat and management skills, secondary disaster prevention, and combating catastrophes. The second file is a transcript overheard at a tavern in a Rim Billiton mining town. To sum it up, Rim Billiton essentially serves as a colony centered around mining for Victoria, having parallels to Australia and England. Many Victorians came to Rim during the mining rush, but have suddenly stopped a few years ago, though there's the occasional refugee who tries to cross the huge expanse with very little supplies. Steam barons from Victoria have recently been sending prisoners to steal ore since their veins have dried up, causing something known as the quote-unquote cage incident to happen. The third file is also a transcript, and quite long, of a conversation overheard at an official residence in the Eureka Prefecture. To summarize, the new ruling class have implemented short-sighted policies, exiled opposition, leaked news of hostages, neglected armed forces, and have laissez-faire for the Victorian government, and this has caused conflict. It's alluded that Leon has been heralded as a hero for liberating trapped miners, which caused the ruling class to resent him, as he gave their opposition more manpower. He often requests jobs that put him in danger as well. His fourth archive file is what I presume to be Leon talking to the doctor, who's reading through his files. The doctor wants to know Leon's clinical diagnosis, which Leon skirts around before talking about an old friend who could sever the progression of oropathy. He's then interrupted by whom I assume is Airscarp, who drags Leon by the collar away from the doctor. Leon's promotion record covers his arts ability. Essentially, he uses a directional shock wave, equal in power to an adult's punch. But when observing Leon using his arts against a boulder, he was able to break it into pieces, and allow the harvesting of the minerals within it. This is why he's so highly sought after by mining companies, as he's able to finally separate the structure of rock and mineral within his range. Leon is confirmed to be infected. He has a cell originum assimilation of 0.6% and a blood originum crystal density of 0.14 parts per liter. There are a few notes in his clinical analysis. First, there are no obvious signs of infection on the surface of his body, and the deposits around his organs aren't very distinct. Second, compared to other catastrophe messengers, Leon's BOC density is shockingly low. And third, it's theorized that Leon uses his arts to isolate himself from Originum, but he needs to take better care of himself. In his character art drawn by Nozaki Subata, Leon wears very trendy clothes for someone who's often in the mines. He wears a double-breasted, button-up white dress shirt with very short blue tie, underneath a black and high-vis yellow zip-up jacket with quilted interior, cuff sleeves, a pinned-on white and blue armband with 3 chevrons, 2 belts flowing behind him, LHR near the zipper, and an ID tag. Black dress shorts held up by suspenders, yellow and black gloves, a stocking on his left leg with an infection monitor on his mid-left thigh, a black sock held up by a garter belt on his right leg, and big goofy shoes. He holds his staff in his left hand, with it having a few tags and what looks to be blades at the end of it. And I believe he explains what it is in one of his voice lines. In his voice lines, voiced by Soma Saito, who also voices Tatsumi in Akame ga Kill, Tadashi Yamaguchi in Haikyuu, Hermes in Danmachi, Daichi Saito in WWW Working, 9 Alpha in Darling in the Franxx, Sho Utsumi in SSSS Gridman, Vinegar Doppio in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind, William James Moriarty in Moriarty the Patriot, Tanaka in Odd Taxi, Wine in Raising a Nation Out of Debt, Hyoma Chigiri in Blue Lock, Aizetsu in Demon Slayer, Feather and Suramaru in Grand Blue, Chongyung in Genshin, and a ton of Boys Love CDs, I'm guessing around 30. Leon is pretty casual with the Doctor.
天才トランスポーターのレオンハルト。ドクターはどこかでこの名前を聞いたことある？ない？ならよかった。人事のお姉さんの時みたいにあれこれ聞かれなくて済みそうだからね。ドクター、今日も俺とだべって気晴らししたいのかな？それとも、どうしても俺に話したい面白いことでもあるの？やらかしたみたいだね。ドクターは先に逃げて。大丈夫。俺がいれば敵は絶対に追いつけないから。バーン！よし！今回の強敵も無事に片付いたね。じゃあ約束通り、ドクターへのねぎらいとして、次の停留ポイントで俺の商店街巡りに付き合ってもらうよ。俺が作戦チームをまとめるの？まあ別にいいけど、そんなの朝飯前だからさ。ちょっと仮眠する？いいよ。安心して。急ぎの案件があれば遠慮なく叩き起こすから。昇進？いいねいいね。昇進したオペレーター専用のかっこいい制服とかないの？アクセサリーでもいいからさ。それもない。大丈夫だって。ちゃんと検査に協力してるし、薬も飲んでるよ。ただ、医療部のあの記録担当のお姉さんがあまりにも慎重でガチガチだったからさ、ちょこっといたずらしてリラックスさせたくなったんだ。この話を医療部のやつにチクるのはなしね。さあドクター、ロドスに制服着用のルールなんてないでしょ？いっつも同じコーデはやめなよ。ほら、俺の服を見て。このブランドいいセンスしてるでしょ。何着か選んであげようか？俺の持ってるこれ？レムビリトンの標準型爆破装を俺が改造したものだよ。もちろん改造する前からアーツ駆動式のアーツユニットだけど。さ、ドクターまさか武器で岩石を叩き壊すような力任せなやり方が効率的だなんて思ってないよね。エウレカ号の話、ドクターも興味が湧いてきた？別に話すほどの秘密なんてないと思うよ。ある程度まともな本に書いてあることと大体一緒。まあでも、人質救出のくだりはもっと細かく書いてほしかったかな。結構な数のローを壊したんだよね、俺。
At E2 level 80 with max trust, potential, and module, Leon has 1,792 HP, 965 attack, 120 defense, 20 resistance, a 66 second redeploy time, 31 DP cost, and has an attack speed of 2.9 seconds. His range is the standard range of a splash/AoE caster, that being the 2 tiles to the right and left of him, and the 2x3 grid in front of him. At max trust, he gets plus 90 attack. At max pot, he gets plus 32 attack, minus 2 DP, minus 4 seconds to redeploy, and a buff to his talent. His talent, Lethal Fragmentation, which is unlocked at E1, and upgraded at E2 pot 4, as well as his module level 3, Leon gets plus 5% attack for every enemy in range, stacking up to 8 times. This means that if there are 8 enemies in Leon's range, he gets plus 40% attack, which raises his attack to 1,351. Leon has 2 base skills, with one being unlocked at E1. His first base skill, Structural Mechanics, when he's assigned to a workshop to process building materials, he gets plus 75% byproduct rate. His second base skill, Mineral Benefication, when Leon is assigned to the workshop to process building materials, minus 2 morale consumed to all formulas that consume 4 morale. Leon's first skill, Attack Up Gamma, gains SP over time and is manually triggered. At level 7, it starts with 10 SP and needs 35 SP to proc. At M3, it starts with 15 and needs 30. All levels last for 30 seconds. At level 7, Leon gets plus 60% attack. At M3, it's plus 100% attack. At level 7, his attack is raised to 1,544, or 2,162 if he has 8 enemies in range. At M3, his attack is raised to 1,930, or 2,702 if he has 8 enemies in range. This is just quick math. I don't know if it's extremely accurate with the whole 8 enemies in range damage buff. His second skill, Deconstruct and Detonate, gains SP over time and is manually triggered. All levels start with 0 SP, with level 7 needing 13 SP to proc and N3 needing 10. At level 7, Leon's range temporarily expands, and he immediately deals 200% arts damage to all enemies in range, and reduces their resistance by minus 12% for 6 seconds. This can store up to 2 charges. At M3, he immediately deals 230% arts damage, and reduces the resistance of enemies in range by minus 15% for 6 seconds. This can store up to 3 charges. At level 7, Leon does 1,930 arts damage, or 2,702 if there are 8 enemies in range. At M3, he does 2,220 arts damage, or 3,107 if there are 8 enemies in range. Again, don't know how accurate the 8 enemies in range modifier is, I just did quick math. Leon has an SPC-X module named Inheritance and Development, which gives him 1 extra tile of range, extending the range directly in front of him by 1 tile, and giving him the same range as a core/single target caster. At module level 3, his module buffs his talent, making it so that Leon gets plus 5% attack for every enemy in range, stacking up to 8 times. He also gets plus 155 max HP and plus 70 attack. To unlock and max out his module, you must have Leon at E2 level 50, have 100% trust with him, complete 5 battles having your own Leon use his S2 at least 4 times per battle, 3-star 3-5 using your own Leon and having Leon defeat at least 10 enemies with his S2, have 6 module data blocks, 20 data patching strips, 8 data patching devices, 3 RMA 70-24s, 4 Keton colloids, 5 polymerized gels, and 150,000 LND. Leonhardt's main utility, at least in my opinion, is as a debuffer who mops up his own mess, or at least assists others who deal arts damage in dealing more of it. To clarify what I mean, his S2, Deconstruct and Detonate, is where you'll be getting the most use out of him from. This S2 not only temporarily expands his range, has low SP cost, and can stack up to 3 charges, but also reduces an enemy's resistance by up to minus 15%, allowing either himself, Arts Protectors, Arts Guards, or other casters to deal a bit more damage to the more tankier enemies. His attack can also get an up to plus 40% buff depending on how many enemies are in his range. But this is where he kind of falls off a bit compared to other AoE/splash casters such as Dusk, Mastema, Skyfire, and Santala. Dusk can summon Freelings, which take up no deployment slot and can stall enemies. Mastema slows enemies in her range. Santala inflicts cold/freeze, and Skyfire can stun. These are, again, in my opinion, more useful than a reduction in resistance. Not to mention, all 4 of them have the more useful module, which reduces the deployment cost for a subclass that has a high DP cost of around the 30 DP range. That's also not to mention Aya in her S2, essentially kind of making her a pseudo AoE caster. Leonhardt isn't all that bad, just a bit outclassed when it comes to utility. Sure, minus 15% resistance can be useful, but compared to others, it doesn't have as much versatility for crowd control, or killing enemies quicker. Medium to medium low priority to build, doubly so if you have any of the 4 I mentioned previously. Thank you for watching. Please follow my Twitter for updates, and please check out my other Azure Lane and Girls Frontline videos as well. There will be a teaser out tomorrow for next week's character summaries.